how's the tour going?
It's fantastic. I'm out with the Halo Effect right now, so we're it's been great, super cool shows, great turnouts, and another sold out show tonight. So yeah, it's
Brilliant. You
it's
couldn't ask for more, could you?
no, truly, it's really cool.
I was going to
Yeah,
say,
we're getting going back home just another week or so, or yeah.
you got a little bit of a break, but then you got that big old flight down to Australia for the first time, at least with Dark Tranquillity, in like, about a decade now.
Yeah, it is. Sadly, horrible, but it's true. Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, we had some misfortune like 10 years ago, and then it's been hard kind of getting things to work like kind of financially over the years, and also
Mm.
like we had some issues with the promoter that just didn't work out, and so it took a while before we found a new one that we are comfortable with, and finally it's happening. So incredibly excited.
Hey, look, better late than never. That's the whole thing.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. It's not surprising you said you were late to the interview today. I don't think, I honestly think you're allergic to not working with all the musical projects you've got going. And the fact that you released a Halo Effect album and a Dark Tranquillity album less than 6 months apart, like you just must hate being bored.
I'm never bored, but I am also extremely lazy. But I like writing, and I like performing, and I like singing, and I like hanging out with my friends. So that's it makes this easy.
I just think you like traveling at this point because you get to see the world, have different views, drink different beers.
Absolutely, especially like doing like this, like we are right now, traveling around Europe is fantastic. A lot of friends that only get to see everywhere, once a year or something like that. Yeah, of course the cities are beautiful, and yeah, the beer is usually good. So
Yeah.
I'm not super excited for all the flying we're gonna do after Australia this time around, but it's gonna work out.
Yeah, it's a bit different because when you're last down here, it was a halo effect for Froth and Fury and Lagerfest, which was
Oh yeah,
yeah, good time, good time. I saw the photos with you at Hobbiton, and you played at a
yeah,
brewery. How was that? Like, what do you think?
yeah.
Actually, like European band, you go to America as well. You come to Australia, beer wise, what's your poison?
Beer wise, oh, I mean, I'm up for anything. Um, I'm very into traditional German beer styles like Helles and Keller beer. At least right now, it kind of, sometimes it's all about the stouts, and sometimes
Yeah,
it's all about the New England IPAs and that kind of stuff. But it's great to try out local stuff. So we normally have that on our rider. So we make sure that in the fridge when we arrive to the venues, there's something from this area we're in. There's Otta Kringer, which is not great, but I kind of like it just because I'm in Vienna, and that's what you're supposed to drink.
yeah.
It's that kind of thing. But I mean, I remember, yeah, like 10 years ago when we were from Australia. Then before that, it was maybe 13 years ago now. Then there wasn't much at all, like in Australia, like in terms of craft beer.
No,
Like
now it's
it
huge.
hadn't really gotten started. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. And then like 10 years ago, I was like, wow, you can finally you could find really, really good bars and fantastic breweries. And, you have some specific hop varieties in Australia that is kind of native to the country, which is super cool. And yeah, so that's, of course, something that I look forward to very much.
Well, I was about to say, like, I'm good friends with a couple of people at a brewery here and a very good brewery as well. And I'm going to go to the show
Yeah.
in Sydney. If there's anything that kind of floats your boat, like any type, IPA, XPA, stout, IPA,
Yeah.
whatever you want, you tell me and I'll
Usually,
bring you some.
I'll bring some IPA. That would be great because it's always kind of like the starting point, especially for microbreweries. Like if they do a good IPA, then I'm open to everything else. If they can get that right. Even though it's easier maybe to do a IPA than it is to do a fantastic lager. But I've had enough lagers in my life, I think, for
Look,
for a while.
I'm only in my mid 30s and I think I've had enough lagers as well. So I'll bring you an IPA, but getting to it as well, coming down with Dark Tranquillity again after the last album,
Yeah,
mate, that's a big
yeah,
deal. And the last album was, I want to say it still felt like Dark Tranquillity, but it was a little bit more emotional, a lot more haunting melodies and clean vocals. What kind of led you down that path? Because, like, I really enjoyed it because the album felt like It felt like a movie soundtrack. It didn't feel like playing song A to song, 11.
Good, yeah,
Yeah, I felt like I went for a roller coaster, and then you finish on false reflection. Like,
yeah.
brilliant.
No, that is something that we thought about, and I think the writing process for this album has been different than the last couple of albums. Like Anders quit, like left the band, and he was responsible for a lot of the writing. So now it's kind of up to Martin, Johan, and I to make sure that we kind of maintain the sound and also kind of come up with something new. So it was a bit of a challenge at first. Like normally we have so much material that we can just pick and choose and then make something out of it eventually. But for this was kind of like, okay, we start from scratch. What do we want to say? What is relevant right now for us as a band, musically and lyrically and emotionally, and it turned out to be very kind of. It was a difficult time to write, but at the same time, like it was kind of meant to be because we had just come off an American tour, like so much stuff had happened in the world that kind of really affected us, I think, just because of how much we travel. And it was really hard to kind of see our place in it. What is the purpose of being an entertainer, a songwriter and a singer? Like what is it? Like what can we offer? When so much of the world is kind of like suffering in many ways right now. At least that's how it felt. So that was the starting point to kind of like, okay, but what can we provide? Like how do we deal with it, and how do we process this? And so it became an album about dealing with the world, also a lot about the grief. We lost one of our original members years ago, and we hadn't really processed that properly, so we wrote a song based on his music. And so it was all very emotionally driven, and I like the fact that after all these years we can be, it's fine to be more vulnerable and to be more transparent, I think. And not just put on that brave, cool metal face, it's like that has been. There's enough bands doing that.
I get what you're saying, and it's actually quite clever at the end of the day because a lot of us, we grow up, you listen, and we're all tough in our 20s. We start to mellow it out in our 30s, in our 40s. We kind of reflect on ourselves. So it really does show through the music. Now, not every band's going to do that. Not every fan wants that at the end of the day. Some fans want album number 1 and 2 for every single album. But it's a testament to how you guys grow. And that's about the best thing about Dark Tranquillity. And I know you've probably seen it. Loudwire have said it. You guys have never released a bad album, and you've continued that trend. But you've also never had an album that sounds like the last album at the same time. So that's an incredibly difficult thing to do at the same time. Is that a little bit humbling in a way, or is it just kind of like that's just natural progression and people just like what we're doing?
No, I mean it's a natural progression, obviously, but it's also something that takes a lot of time to get right. Because we set out like early on. We don't want to repeat ourselves. We don't want to be. A lot of the discussions when we started out was what not to do. We didn't want to sound like this or that band. We didn't want to write lyrics like all those bands, and we don't want to repeat ourselves like the bands that we don't like. And so it was a lot like what do we don't want, and that's in a way how we figured out what we want. And so that is always important, and of course that's why we take our time, in the writing process to make sure that it feels fresh and not a repeat of what we've done before. The talk was always, at least back in the 90s and 2000s, like if something starts to sound similar to anything we've done, we just throw it away and we start over. Maybe we don't do that anymore, but we don't even get that anymore. So it's fine, but it's something that is always on our mind, and of course that means it gets more difficult with every album we make. But it should be. That's the challenge.
Well, that's a beautiful thing about it because you've got to push yourself as you grow. Because if you don't do that, you don't grow as an artist. But is it ever hard when you're like considering now that the halo effects are out? I know you've always done multiple projects, but is it hard now that you're kind of doing them so close together? Do you ever worry about them clashing because you've done a good job about them sounding completely different. So I've got to give you a
Yeah,
big thumbs up for that.
thank you. No, yeah, I mean, it can be like that. I mean,
Yeah.
when we were mixing the DT album, I was also recording the Cemetery Skyline album at the same time, and also at night I was writing lyrics for two more Halo Effect songs. So but I also then that meant like all the other songs were already written, and I was ready with that, so I can kind of move on to the next. So I try to take time in between. You go on tour or whatever, then you don't write for months,
Yeah.
and then you can come back and kind of start fresh. And I need that. DT things take forever, just because we have to kind of overcome ourselves and um, our second guessing and kind of our 30 plus year history first and foremost, and then you have to find something new. Whereas with the Halo Effect, everything is new, so it's easy. You start from scratch, and especially the first album, like you had no expectations. You can do anything, and I really, that makes it easier. So yeah, I think it's the hardest part is to put together that traveling schedule between shows.
Yeah, well, you definitely have a traveling schedule ahead of you. But do you ever find when you're doing it as well, because you're going like, I'm doing this bit here, I'm doing this bit here, like it kind of makes you go, this is the Dark Tranquillity sound I'm trying to do, and you kind of let your other, creative, I don't know the word for it, like expeditions go off this way because you're like, well, I can do that thing I want to do over here, and I can do that thing I want to do over here, but I can hone in on what I want to do with Dark Tranquillity here.
I think, I mean, it's the music really dictates what I do. So it's very easy. With Blockability, we go back and forth and we demo material for forever, and we try out different things and we rewrite songs all the time. Which means like everybody kind of contributes and we get to a point where we can all be happy. Whereas with the Halo Effect, Niklas writes most of the material and then with help of Jesper. And so I get kind of like a finished song. This is it. And then I go like, awesome. I know exactly what you mean. I know what you're going for because I know him very well. And we have shared the same kind of influences and upbringing and all that stuff. So that makes it very easy.
Yeah.
So I don't have to think about it that much, which is great. It's just, it's instinct mostly.
Well, that's beautiful. But let's get to some fun stuff because you're coming down to Australia. It's been a long time since Dark Tranquillity have been here. You're on tour with the Halo Effect right now. Have you thought about the set list yet? Like it's been, like I said, a decade. So you've got to play some new stuff. You've got to play some stuff we've missed out on. We've missed out on like 10 years of Dark Tranquillity.
Yeah, I'm happy that we kind of focused. We started touring for this new album in August last year. On the day that it came out, we did some festivals, and then we did American and European tour. We decided to kind of alter the set list a little bit every day, almost, to add some new songs and old songs and more kind of obscure songs that we haven't played in a while. So it's going to be interesting. Like we have two different set lists that we're working on right now that I'm excited about. So it's going to be a good mix, I think. And it's always a bit of a nightmare, obviously, but I think we're in a really good place. And everybody, we know we have a lot of songs that we can play, so we can alter it if we feel something is not just right, which I really love. So I really, really look forward to this. And it should be cool because 10 years missing. So there are some songs that I need to take that into consideration when we roll to it. For sure.
I was about to say, you definitely do, because it's very easy to go, oh, here's some old hits, here's a new album. But like I said, there is a 10-year gap. So there's a couple of songs like the people want to hear kind of in between at the same time. So, but it's a good problem to have because the band's been around for so long. It's like it's a good thing, but it's also a bad thing at the same time. You're like, well, we've got so many songs. People are always going to go,
we're not going to do any 3-hour shows anytime soon. That's not it, really.
God, no. Like I've already seen Dream Theater once. That's a long day, but they at least have one song that's 25 minutes. You're like, yeah, they play 8 songs and they play
Sure.
for 3 hours.
Uh,
But when you're coming back to it, like, is it ever difficult to switch gears from the Halo effect of Dark Tranquillity? You're just so used to touring life and musician life at this point in time that it's no big deal.
but it was exciting in the beginning, of course, like to do something else. And it was, it all sprung out from the pandemic, where we had just recorded Moment and there was nothing happening. And then Nicholas kind of approached me to start something else, and we're like, yeah, sure, and just because it was fun and interesting, and let's see what can come of it, And at the same time, we started 2 other bands as well, just because why not? And so switching gears that's easy. It's so different, It's so totally different kind of vibe, very different musicians, very different kind of overall feeling. So for me, that's never a problem, And lyrically, it's very different as well. Yeah, it's more kind of like, where am I going this weekend?
Yeah,
like, with
who? It's always interesting because you've done so many music projects, and I don't think, and correct me if I'm wrong, I don't think I've ever heard you put out a cover song. Was that anything?
We've done with Dark Tranquillity, but this long time ago. We did Creator song, we did an Iron Maiden song, we've done Metallica song. Oh. It was kind of like for tribute albums, like there was this record company in Gothenburg that did kind of like this tribute album. So all the kind of Gothenburg bands got together and did one song each, and it was Metallica one that turned out really cool. So the others are available, but we haven't done covers in a very long time. So, but because writing new stuff is so much more fun.
Yeah.
But with that said, there might be a cover song coming out from Cylinder Skyline, and there might be some Halo cover songs coming as well.
Oh,
well, that I'm not gonna say.
No. Don't drop the scoop here. No. It's all good. No, it's interesting. I'll have to dig around on the web. I'm sure if music exists, it's on the internet somewhere. But mate, I love having you here. I cannot wait for the tour start next week. I know you're busy. You got sound check. I know you got a full day ahead of you. But I want to ask, what's one memory from Australia that kind of sticks out from when you've toured here? I know you've come here a couple of times now. Is there anything that sticks out in your mind? Or New Zealand? We'll throw New Zealand in there too.
New Zealand was very special just because it was the first time. No, but I think my favorite has been kind of just walking down the street of the cities and just seeing how different the vibe is, Yeah. You're on the other side of the planet, and of course it's different, but also a lot of similarities. And I loved just seeing the cities that I've just seen on TV and in movies, when finally you're there and you recognize spots, you recognize, areas. And I mean, I think Australia is such a gorgeous country. And so for me, just going for a long run, or just see the city is one of my favorite things. Then, of course, after the show, you go out into kind of like the nightlife and bars are incredible. Food is great. People are always nice, and it's always a good time, like good party vibe. And oh man, I love it. I should come more often, that's for sure.
Yeah, well, you can make another 5-6 bands and come down here every single year, I guess, if you want to. But Michael, it's been an absolute pleasure. Is there anything you want to say to the fans before I let you go today? Because the tour starts very soon.
Yeah, I'm just super grateful that we get to do this still, and I hope people come out to hang out with us, and we promise we'll put on one hell of a show. It's going to be awesome.
Well, you better, because I promise you I'll bring you that IPA. I hope you enjoy it. You'll let me know afterwards.
Awesome.
But beautiful, sweet. Michael, we will see you at the end of the month. Cannot wait, my friend. Enjoy the show tonight.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Cheers, mate.